Hi everybody, today's video is going to be on loss. A while ago we were asked about how Jedi deal with heartbreak and tough romantic situations such of that nature. But I also wanted to create a video which dealt with the overall theme, because heartbreak happens in a lot of different ways and it really boils down to loss. But sometimes that loss is a bit more permanent. And recently my dad died, and that really brought into focus a question of how do Jedi deal with loss? How do Jedi deal with that heartbreak and going through that process? My first experiences as a Jedi dealing with heartbreak and loss didn't go so well. In fact, there is now a documentary out that documents my failed experience in one of those cases where I just didn't adhere to the path properly and I fell off and it was a whole, it was a whole ordeal, right? And the Jedi community let me down, or at least the place that I went to at the time, but that's a whole other story. And so I had to kind of like pull myself back up and refine the path. And again, it kind of goes back to that kind of Jedi culture versus internet culture. But the main thing I want to talk about is how do you deal with loss now, right? Not just concepts of death or what happens after death, like none of that. That's for you and your spiritual well-being to work out, or that person that maybe you lost on a more permanent level, or pets or anything of that nature. We all experience loss in our life. It's going to happen at one point or another in our lives. It's just a part of life, right? It's part of that cycle. Well, I'm not here to philosophize on life and death. What we want to talk about is what now. This isn't if this happens, pick yourself up. This isn't a pat on your back. You got this. You've been through it. Things like that. I've lost my best friend. I've lost my dad now, and of course I've lost other family members. But those two are really the ones that when talking about death, those are the ones that stick the most. So again, the question is what now? Two major things. One, you want to approach life continually as a Jedi, and we'll get into that. But the first and most important thing is to understand that grieving is okay. Now, a lot of people read the Jedi code as, instead of just reading it as there is no emotion, there's peace, they read it as a Jedi has no emotion, they have peace. That's not what it says, that's not how it's written, but a lot of people go there. But that's not what we're talking about. Obviously a Jedi has emotions, so please try not to go the Stoic route. Don't try to go the Vulcan route. Don't try to go the robot route. Don't try to do anything like that. Grieving is a core part of the process, and the more popular idea of grief, and the one that's really made a lot of rounds because it helps make sense of all the mixed emotions that you're feeling, is the 5 stages of grief: anger, denial, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. The important thing to understand about this is not a ladder. It's not a linear checklist. You don't get to say, okay, I was angry today, so that stage is done. That's not how that works. A lot like the hero's journey, where a lot of people think you go through a cycle, boom, done, it's over, that's it. It's not how it works. It's not how the path works. It's not how life works. It's just not how it works. You're going to experience the influx of those 5 things and a plethora more throughout the grieving process, and they're going to come in different stages. You will be angry. That anger won't always have a direction. That maybe it'll even be at the person that left because you feel angry that they left, or maybe it'll be at yourself because you said something or didn't say something or didn't do something, or maybe there'll be bargaining with a god or the person or the doctors or yourself, or some kind of perceived made up concoction in your head where if you give up this, maybe you can get this back. And all this, there's going to be so much going on in your head. There's going to be a lot of emotions going on. It is a process, and that's okay. That's what you have to understand. You grieving in your own way is okay. That's not always outside. That's not always shown. People don't always get that. Like, people have this idea of grieving that you have to be crying the entire time, whatever. There's a lot of ways that grief will hit you. It can hit you in little ways. It can hit you in big ways. And it's a period of time, and you can be good you could be good, and then something 6 months from now can remind you of just one thing, and you might hit all 5 stages of grief in like an instant. It might just boil up, but then you are able to move on. And again, remember, the thing about being a Jedi is not to bottle down, it's not to ignore, it's not to get rid of, it's to experience. It's equanimity. You experience the emotions fully, openly, and you can just, I don't want to say let them go, but yeah, you know, you let them wash over you. You experience it. You allow it to inform you. Your emotions are there as informative tools. You acknowledge it, you address it, and you eventually accept it. You accept that this is what happened, this is how you feel, and that's okay. That's okay. So you just work through that grieving process. The next step of that, right? We have grief. That's the first thing. Has its stages, it has its ups and downs. That's okay. Experience it, embrace it, don't run away from it. That's good. But then remember who you are and who you want to be and the path that you walk. Again, this isn't denial. This isn't shoving away. This isn't doing something so you're not focusing on this. But the Jedi path is there for you to help work through these tough things. In the documentary, that's part of my journey, is that I failed at that. I failed to adhere to the path. I failed to remember that the path is there to help through these difficult circumstances. That's when you really want to stay on top of your 5 practices. I know you're not going to feel like it. Depression, anger, bargaining, all of that's going to kind of pull you away from not really wanting to do these things. You do get a sense of, especially in life, when someone really close to you dies, and especially if you had plans with them and you had things kind of together, things you were going to do together and things of that nature, you get a sense of, well, what's the point? Who cares, right? Like, it doesn't matter in the end. None of it matters, and you can fall into that kind of line of thinking. And so it's important that you stick to the things that and the goals that you've always had set forth for yourself. These are things that you did for you, not for anybody else, not because of someone's urging, but because this is something that you wanted to do. Something we talk about within the Jedi, right? Like, why Jedi? And no matter all these outside answers, the real honest answer always comes down to, because that's who you want to be, and that's the name you want to carry. That's what you aspire to, is Jedi. So get back to your practices little by little. Look, you have to understand it's a step-by-step process, but adhere to your daily practices. And understand that they're not always going to be done the same way you were before, especially if you're going through depression and things of that nature. But you adhere to your normal meditation time, right? I normally meditate at this time, so do that. But if you're 5 minutes in and you're just like, I can't, I'm not just gonna sit here. It's not happening today. That's okay. As long as you sat down at the time you're supposed to sit down for your meditation and you gave it a shot, you did your best, then that's it. If it only lasted 5 minutes, it only lasted 2 minutes, it only lasted 10 minutes, then that's fine. Don't force yourself, but do it, right? Same with working out. This is my normal workout time. Well, go do it. Go do your workout. 3 reps in, if halfway through the workout you're just lethargic and you're done, or you're hurting and you're more tired, or you just can't, then don't. Then stop. But do start. Do start. Awareness, that's an important practice, because you're going to want your emotional awareness, your self-awareness. You're going to want your situational awareness, because life continues, right? Like, that's one of the tough parts of really looking around the world, and you realize, like, everybody's going on with their life and they're acting like part of your world didn't just die, and so you're struggling with this concept that life just continues. It continues to roll on. It doesn't stop for you. It doesn't stop for tragedies. It just continues to roll on. And that's tough. And that's one of the tough parts about grief and getting to acceptance, is that things just keep moving. So situational awareness, being aware of what you're going through, what you're experiencing, how that's playing in with the world around you, what's going on with the people around you, staying connected, that's important. Diplomacy is its own thing. It's a practice you should keep up, but there's also obviously going to, there's gonna be things of tact in talking about it. It's gonna be really difficult because people will probably want to talk to you, and you might not feel like talking to them or talking to anyone about like what's going on. So that's, your diplomacy is gonna play a part whether you like it or not. And of course, self-discipline is that key one. It's that one you want to continue to work on. And I say keep up the 5 practices. I really would encourage the Jedi circle in general, and like going through the tenets and doing your best, doing what you can each and every day, including the 5 goals, because getting back into that can really help you move forward and help you get back into the flow of life. Take a break when you need it. Again, self-care, things of that. The third thing I would add on this when you're dealing with loss is your social wellness, right? We say Jedi have 5 areas of wellness: physical wellness, emotional wellness, intellectual wellness, spiritual wellness, and social wellness. And social wellness is important. Don't neglect people. Don't neglect your family. Again, you might not be in the mood to talk, but don't cut yourself off. Don't be a complete island. Even if it's just that one person you really like, that one person you really trust. For me, a personal example is when I was going to speak at my best friend's funeral. You know, I was there, and you know, I was just having all these conflicted emotions, and so I reached out to someone that, you know, I don't normally talk to, but I reached out to them because, yeah, I needed someone in that moment. And it's important to have. Like, don't shun people. If you need to reach out, that's what your friends are for. That's what your family's for. Like, don't cut people off. Really embrace that social side of it. You know, that social wellness is there for a reason. It does help. It helps with all those other things. It will especially help in the emotional wellness department. So yeah, don't cut off. That's really it. You know, when you experience it, understand that, yeah, you're going to go through your process of grief. Get familiar with it. If you're not really sure of the 5 stages of grief or what all that's about, really look at things that talk about grief. And that goes for even just a really tough breakup, divorce, whatever. You know, that's still a loss in your life, and that's still going to carry an impact. That's still heartbreak, right? So look at your stages of grief. Look at that. Really understand that process as best as you can. Understand what you're going through. Really take note of it. Continue to be a Jedi, right? Continue to do those practices. Stay in touch. That's one of the great things about the Jedi community, or can be, depending on your community. Again, I've had bad experiences, but depending on where you're at, you can really have a good community outreach, and it can be a good part of your social wellness. And again, if the Jedi community, you don't want to trust the Jedi culture versus internet culture and which one's going to win out, that's fair. Trust your friend. Trust, you know, your family members. Trust someone in your social circle to be a part of that, and to, you know, let them in. Let them know what you're experiencing. It's okay. You know, like, it's okay to reach out and to talk to people and let them know what you're going through and how you're feeling. Watch Luke training on Dagobah, like whatever you need to do to kind of reaffirm yourself, to work through it and just get back to the basics daily, you know? And again, that doesn't mean completing them fully, but that means beginning. It means doing your best with what you have. And if it works out, if you get to the end of your workout, awesome. If you don't, you don't. But you put in the effort. You take the small steps when you can. Okay? All right, everybody. It's a bit of a heavier topic, but thank you for watching. You know where the buttons are. You can like, dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe from this nonsense. Hit the little bell notification so every time I do upload a video, you can be bugged about it. Take care, everyone. May the Force be with you. As a Jedi, we deal with it in regards to our path. You can boil it down to a single mantra, right? You say it with me now. Be a Jedi.